I'm standing in my twin sister's kitchen, my hands trembling as I grip the edge of the granite countertop. The house is too quiet, too still. Outside, the autumn sun is setting over the suburban neighborhood, casting long shadows through the bay windows that Hannah always loved. She picked this house specifically for those windows, for the way the light would pour into the kitchen every evening. That was 3 years ago, back when Tyler still pretended to be the man she thought she was marrying. My reflection stares back at me from the darkened screen of the microwave. Hannah's reflection. Our reflection. We've always looked identical, down to the small scar above our left eyebrow from when we fell off the swing set at 7 years old. But right now, I'm wearing her clothes, her wedding ring, even her perfume. The soft floral scent makes my stomach turn because it smells like her. But I'm not her. I'm Madison, and I'm about to do something that terrifies me more than anything I've ever done in my 34 years of life. 3 days ago, I didn't know my sister was being beaten by her husband. 3 days ago, my biggest worry was meeting a deadline for a graphic design project. 3 days ago, Hannah showed up at my apartment with bruises covering her rib cage and a split lip she'd tried to hide with makeup. When I hugged her, she winced, and that's when I knew something was catastrophically wrong. The house feels different than I remember. The last time I was here was 6 months ago for a Sunday brunch that felt forced and uncomfortable. Hannah had laughed too loudly at Tyler's jokes, and I'd noticed how she flinched when he reached across her to grab the salt shaker. I'd written it off as nothing, told myself I was being paranoid. Now, I understand what I was really seeing. Fear. My sister was afraid in her own home, at her own table with her own husband. I checked my phone. 7:42. Tyler usually gets home from the gym around 8 on Thursdays. That gives me 18 minutes to steady my breathing, to become Hannah, to prepare for what comes next. My sister is safe at my apartment across town, probably pacing the floor, worrying about me the same way I've been worrying about her for months without fully understanding why. The bruises. God, the bruises. When she finally lifted her shirt to show me, I actually gasped. Dark purple marks covered her ribs on both sides. A handprint was clearly visible on her left thigh. Her back had bruises in various stages of healing, some yellow and fading, others fresh and angry looking. She'd been hiding this for months, maybe longer, wearing long sleeves in summer, avoiding physical contact, making excuses not to see me. I walked through the living room, trying to memorize the placement of everything. The remote control on the left side of the coffee table, the decorative pillows arranged at precise angles on the couch, the stack of medical journals on the end table, edges perfectly aligned. Tyler is a cardiologist at Memorial Hospital, respected and admired by everyone who knows him professionally. No one suspects that the man who saves lives during the day comes home and systematically destroys his wife's. The hardwood floors creak under my feet as I move toward the hallway. I need to know this house as well as Hannah knows it. Every sound, every shadow, every detail matters. If I'm going to pull this off, I can't make a single mistake. Tyler is intelligent and observant. He notices things. Hannah warned me about this. He'll test me, she said. He'll ask questions about conversations we never had, errands I didn't run, just to see if I'm paying attention, just to catch me in a lie he can use against me later. My phone vibrates. A text from Hannah. Are you absolutely sure about this? It's not too late to change your mind. I type back quickly. I'm sure. Trust me, this is the only way. But the truth is, I'm not entirely sure about anything. Part of me thinks this plan is insane. The other part knows it's necessary. Hannah has tried everything else. She's tried talking to him, tried couples counseling until he refused to go anymore, tried being the perfect wife who never gives him a reason to be angry. Nothing works because the problem isn't her. The problem is him. She tried to leave once, about 4 months ago. She'd packed a suitcase while he was at work and made it as far as her car. Tyler came home early and found her. What happened next left her unable to work for a week. She told her supervisor at the hospital where she works as an emergency room nurse that she had the flu. Tyler stayed home with her, playing the concerned husband, bringing her soup and medicine, all while making it clear through glances and carefully chosen words that this was her punishment for trying to leave. That if she ever tried again, it would be worse. That's when Hannah stopped fighting. That's when she accepted that this was her life now. Until 3 days ago, when something inside her finally broke. She'd been making dinner, grilled chicken, with roasted vegetables, one of Tyler's approved meals. The chicken had cooked a bit longer than intended, not burned, but slightly dry. Tyler had taken one bite, set down his fork with exaggerated care, and asked her if she was trying to poison him. Before she could apologize, before she could offer to make something else, he'd picked up his plate and thrown it at the wall next to her head. The ceramic had shattered, sending shards flying. One piece had cut her cheek, a small cut, but enough to draw blood. Tyler had immediately shifted into his other persona, the concerned husband. He'd cleaned the cut, apologized profusely, blamed his stress at work, promised it would never happen again. But Hannah said something was different this time. She looked at him tending to the wound he'd caused, listening to him make excuses, and she finally saw him clearly. Not the man she'd married, not the man she'd fallen in love with, but the man he actually was. A man who would hurt her and then expect her gratitude when he bandaged the wounds. She'd waited until his next shift at the hospital, then she'd driven to my apartment. I opened the door to find my twin sister, my mirror image, looking like someone I barely recognized. Her eyes were hollow, her shoulders hunched forward as if she was trying to make herself smaller. When she spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. It took her 2 hours to tell me everything, how it had started with small criticisms about her appearance, her cooking, how she spent money, how he'd gradually isolated her from friends by creating scenes whenever she tried to make plans, how he'd convinced her to quit her full-time position at the hospital and go part-time, reducing her financial independence, how the first time he'd hit her, 8 months ago, he'd cried afterward and sworn it was a one-time mistake brought on by work stress, how it had happened again a week later, and again, the pattern was always the same. Things would be calm for a while, sometimes weeks. Tyler would be the perfect husband, attentive and loving. Then something would trigger him. A meal that wasn't perfect, a perceived slight, a moment when Hannah didn't read his mood correctly. The punishment would be swift and calculated. He knew where to hit to cause maximum pain while leaving minimal visible evidence. Ribs, back, thighs, stomach, never the face, except for that one time, and even then, it was carefully controlled. Then would come the apology phase, the promises, the declarations of love, and the cycle would start again. Hannah told me the physical abuse was terrible, but the psychological torture was worse. Living in constant fear, never knowing what would set him off, walking on eggshells every moment he was home, second-guessing every word, every action. The hypervigilance was exhausting. She said she couldn't remember the last time she'd relaxed, really relaxed, in her own home. That's when we came up with the plan. Actually, I came up with it, and Hannah initially refused. Too dangerous, she said. What if he figures it out? What if he hurts you? I told her that was exactly the point. Tyler had been getting away with this because Hannah was trapped. She loved him, or at least she loved who he used to be. She kept hoping he'd change. She was psychologically conditioned to accept the abuse, to make excuses for it, to believe somehow it was her fault. But I had no such conditioning. I could see the situation clearly. I could see Tyler for exactly what he was. And I was furious. Furious that someone had hurt my sister. Furious that she'd been suffering alone. furious that this man had been hiding behind his respectable career while committing violence against the person who trusted him most. My plan was simple in concept, complex in execution. Hannah and I would switch places. I would go to her house pretending to be her. I would wear her clothes, her perfume, her wedding ring. I would interact with Tyler exactly as she would, but I would also be documenting everything, recording conversations, taking photos, building evidence that Hannah could use to get a restraining order, to file for divorce, to make sure Tyler faced consequences for what he'd done. But there was more to the plan than just documentation. I wanted Tyler to experience what Hannah had experienced, not the physical abuse. I'm not like him. But the fear, the uncertainty, the powerlessness, I wanted him to understand on a visceral level what it felt like to be vulnerable, to be at someone else's mercy, to realize that the person you trusted could hurt you. Hannah had been skeptical. She'd asked me over and over if I really understood what I was agreeing to. She'd warned me that Tyler was unpredictable, that his moods could shift in an instant, that I might not be able to maintain the pretense under pressure. But I'd convinced her. I'd spent 3 days studying her mannerisms, her speech patterns, the way she moved. I'd learned the details of her daily routine, the names of their neighbors, the quirks of their household. I'd practiced being Hannah until I could slip into her persona without thinking. The sound of a car door slamming outside jolts me from my thoughts. My heart lurches. I glance at my phone. 7:51. He's early, 9 minutes early. I force myself to breathe normally, to stay calm. Being Hannah means being in control of my reactions. No sudden movements, no visible fear. I hear the front door open. I'm standing in the kitchen, exactly where Hannah said she usually is when he arrives home. I'm chopping vegetables for a salad, the knife moving with careful precision. The knife feels heavy in my hand, and I'm acutely aware of it as a potential weapon. But that's not why I'm holding it. That's not the kind of lesson I'm here to teach. Hannah? His voice carries from the entryway. Deep, pleasant, professional. The voice of someone who spends his days speaking calmly to anxious patients and their families. In the kitchen, I call back, matching Hannah's tone exactly. Not too cheerful, not too subdued, neutral, safe. I hear him setting down his gym bag, the familiar sounds of his arrival home. Keys in the ceramic bowl by the door, shoes being removed and placed on the rack. Everything in its designated place because Tyler is a man who values order and control. When he walks into the kitchen, I have to force myself not to react. He's handsome in that conventional way that photographs well. 6'2", athletic build maintained by his daily gym routine, sandy brown hair beginning to gray at the temples in a distinguished way. He's wearing black athletic clothes that show off his physique. He looks like someone who should be in a fitness magazine, not someone who uses those muscles to terrorize his wife. "How was the gym?" I ask, keeping my eyes mostly on the cutting board, but glancing up briefly, the way Hannah does. "Fine." He opens the refrigerator and pulls out a protein shake. Traffic was worse than usual. I nod, continuing to chop vegetables. Hannah warned me that the first 30 minutes after he gets home are crucial. His mood during this window will determine how the rest of the evening goes. If he's relaxed, things might be calm. If he's agitated, I need to be extra careful. "Did you remember to call about the cable bill?" he asks, his tone casual, but with an edge that suggests this isn't really a casual question. This is a test. Hannah had told me about the cable bill, an overcharge of $23 that she'd noticed on last month's statement. She'd called the company twice and spent 45 minutes on hold getting it resolved. Yes, they credited our account. It should show up on the next statement. Good. He takes a long drink of his protein shake, watching me over the rim of the bottle. "What else did you do today?" Another test. He wants an account of how I spent my time, wants to verify that I was productive, that I wasn't wasting his money or shirking my duties as his wife. Laundry, cleaned the bathrooms, went to the grocery store. I pause, remembering the list Hannah gave me. I also called to schedule your dentist appointment for next month. They had an opening on the 15th at 2 o'clock. That works? He sets down the empty protein shake bottle. I'm going to shower. Dinner should be ready by 8:30. It's not a request, it's an expectation. I nod, even though he's already walking away. As soon as I hear the water start running upstairs, I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. My hands are shaking slightly, so I set down the knife and grip the edge of the counter. My phone vibrates in my pocket. Hannah. How is it going? Is he suspicious? Everything is fine so far. He doesn't suspect anything. Be careful, please. I want to tell her that I'm not afraid, that everything is under control, but that would be a lie. I am afraid. Not exactly afraid of Tyler himself, but afraid of what this situation represents. My sister has been living like this for months, possibly longer. Every single day, this fear, this hypervigilance, this careful performance of being the perfect wife to avoid triggering violence. I return to preparing dinner, grilled chicken, roasted vegetables, a mixed green salad. Nothing too complicated, because complicated meals create more opportunities for something to go wrong. Nothing too simple, because Tyler expects effort, expects to see that Hannah has spent time and care preparing his food. The water shuts off upstairs. I hear Tyler moving around in the bedroom, getting dressed. I plate the food carefully, arranging everything the way Hannah described. Protein on the bottom right, vegetables on the top right, salad on the left side of the plate. Tyler is particular about these things. Everything has its place, its proper arrangement. When he comes downstairs, he's wearing jeans and a casual button-down shirt, his hair still damp from the shower. He looks relaxed, which I take as a good sign. He sits at the head of the dining table, the position he always occupies, and waits while I bring over the plates. This looks good, he says, and for a moment he sounds like a normal husband complimenting his wife's cooking. Thank you. I sit in my designated chair to his right and pick up my fork. We eat in silence for several minutes. I'm acutely aware of every sound, every movement, the scrape of his fork against the plate, the way he chews, the occasional sip of water. I'm cataloging everything, building a mental picture of what Hannah's normal evenings look like. I had a complicated procedure today, Tyler says, setting down his fork. A woman in her 60s, severe coronary artery disease. We did a quadruple bypass, 6 hours in the OR. He's looking at me, clearly expecting a response. Hannah had warned me about this. Tyler needs validation, needs to be told he's impressive, that his work matters more than anything else. That sounds incredibly difficult. I'm glad the surgery went well. She'll probably be back in 5 years, he continues, if she doesn't change her lifestyle. High cholesterol, diabetes, refuses to exercise or eat properly. Some people just can't be helped. There's judgment in his tone, a kind of cold disdain for people who don't meet his standards. I wonder if he applies this same judgment to Hannah, finding her lacking in ways he catalogs and files away for future reference. How was your day? He asks, and the question feels like a trap. It was good, productive. I pause, trying to remember what Hannah told me to say. Mrs. Patterson from next door stopped by. She wanted to borrow our hedge trimmer. Did you let her? Yes, she said she'd return it tomorrow. Tyler's jaw tightens slightly. You should have asked me first. I'm sorry. She needed it, and I thought, that's the problem. He interrupts. You don't think. You just do whatever feels right in the moment without considering the consequences. The shift is so sudden, it takes me by surprise. One moment we were having a normal conversation about his day, the next he's criticizing me for lending a neighbor a hedge trimmer. This is the pattern Hannah described. Normal to angry in seconds over things that seem insignificant. You're right. I should have waited to ask you. I keep my voice even, apologetic, exactly the way Hannah would respond. It's not just about the hedge trimmer, Tyler says, his voice rising slightly. It's about respect. It's about recognizing that I'm the one who works, who pays for everything, who makes this life possible. The least you can do is consult me before making decisions about my property. My property, not our property. The distinction is deliberate, I'm sure. A reminder that Hannah has nothing that isn't his, that she exists in this house at his pleasure. I understand. I'm sorry. Are you? He leans back in his chair, studying me with an expression I can't quite read. Because you say you're sorry a lot, but your behavior doesn't change. I don't know how to respond to this, so I stay silent. Hannah had told me that sometimes silence is the safest option, that engaging might escalate the situation further. Tyler stands abruptly, his chair scraping loudly against the hardwood floor. You know what? I don't want to deal with this tonight. I'm going to watch TV. He walks into the living room, leaving his half-eaten dinner on the table. I sit there for a moment, my heart pounding. That escalated and de-escalated so quickly, I'm struggling to process it. Is this over, or is this just the beginning? I clear the table quietly, scraping Tyler's unfinished meal into the trash and loading the dishwasher. Through the doorway, I can see him on the couch, remote in hand, flipping through channels. He looks calm now, as if nothing happened, as if he didn't just berate me for a minor decision about a hedge trimmer. This is the mindfuck of it, I realize. The unpredictability, the way he can switch moods so fast you never know where you stand. Hannah lives like this every day, constantly recalibrating, constantly trying to predict his reactions, constantly failing because there's no pattern to predict. The chaos is the point. It keeps her off balance, keeps her focused on him instead of on herself. When I finish in the kitchen, I join Tyler in the living room, not because I want to, but because that's what Hannah would do. I sit on the opposite end of the couch, leaving space between us, and pull out my phone as if I'm checking messages. Actually, I'm activating the recording app Hannah helped me install. Everything from this point forward will be documented. Video and audio backed up to the cloud in real time, sent to Hannah's private email account. This is the evidence we need. Proof of how he treats her, how he speaks to her, how the psychological abuse operates. What are you doing? Tyler asks, without looking away from the television. Just checking email. From who? No one important. Mostly spam. He grunts, accepting this answer. We sit in silence for 20 minutes, watching a crime drama that Tyler seems engrossed in. I'm hyper-aware of his presence, of the way he shifts position occasionally, of every sound he makes. This must be what it's like for Hannah, never relaxing, always monitoring. During a commercial break, Tyler turns to look at me. Come here, he says. It's not a request. I set down my phone carefully, making sure the camera is still positioned to capture the room, and move closer to him on the couch. He puts his arm around me, pulling me against his side. To anyone watching, this would look like a normal married couple cuddling, but I can feel the tension in his muscles. Can sense that this isn't about affection. This is about control, about asserting his ownership. You know I love you, right? He says, his voice soft. Yes. And you love me? Of course. Then why do you make things so difficult? Why can't you just do what I ask without questioning everything? I didn't question anything, I think. But don't say. I apologized immediately, but pointing this out would only make things worse. I'm trying, I say instead. Are you? Because from where I'm sitting, it seems like you're trying to test me. Like you want to see how far you can push before I react. His arm tightens around my shoulders, pulling me closer until it's almost painful. This is a threat disguised as an embrace. This is him reminding me that he's stronger, that he could hurt me if he wanted to, that I exist at his mercy. I'm not trying to test you. I just made a mistake about the hedge trimmer. It's never just about one thing, Tyler says. It's a pattern of disrespect that I'm tired of tolerating. He releases me suddenly and stands up. I'm going to bed. Make sure all the doors are locked before you come upstairs." Then he's gone, leaving me alone on the couch with my heart racing and my mind spinning. I check my phone. The recording is still going, has captured everything. I send a quick text to Hannah. "Day 1 complete. I'm okay. He didn't hit me, but the psychological stuff is intense." Her response comes immediately. "I'm so sorry you had to experience even a taste of it. Are you sure you want to continue?" I think about Hannah living like this for months, enduring not just the psychological abuse, but also the physical violence. I think about how trapped she must feel, how hopeless. I think about Tyler believing he can keep doing this with no consequences. I'm sure this is just the beginning. We're going to make him understand what he's done. I lock up the house, checking every door and window the way Hannah told me Tyler requires. Then I head upstairs, dreading what comes next. The bedroom, where so much of the abuse has occurred, according to Hannah, where Tyler feels most entitled to exert his control because it's private, because no one can see, because it's his right as a husband. Tyler is already in bed, reading a medical journal. He looks up when I enter. "Took you long enough." I wanted to make sure everything was secure. "Get ready for bed, I'm tired." I go into the bathroom and change into one of Hannah's nightgowns, brush my teeth, wash my face. When I look at myself in the mirror, I see my sister looking back at me. We've always been identical, but right now, in her clothes, in her house, living her life, the resemblance feels eerie. I wonder if Tyler has any sense that something is different, that the woman he's with tonight isn't the woman he married. When I come out of the bathroom, Tyler has turned off his light. I slide into bed beside him, staying as far to my side as possible. For several long minutes, nothing happens. I start to think maybe he's going to fall asleep, that this night will end without further incident. Then I feel his hand on my arm. "Come here," he says again. I move closer, my body tense. His hand slides up my arm to my shoulder, then to my face. He turns my head toward him and kisses me. It's not a gentle kiss. It's demanding, aggressive, another assertion of ownership. I kiss him back because that's what Hannah would do, because refusing would escalate things, because this is part of the plan, as awful as it is. I need to understand what Hannah experiences. I need Tyler to feel safe, to drop his guard, to show his true self. But when his hand moves to pull up my nightgown, I freeze. This is a line I can't cross. This is something Hannah and I specifically discussed and agreed was off limits. "I don't feel well," I say, pulling back slightly. "My stomach has been bothering me all day." Tyler's expression hardens. Of course it has. "I'm sorry, maybe tomorrow?" "There's always an excuse with you." He rolls away from me, his back rigid with anger. "Forget it." We lie there in the dark, not touching. I can tell by his breathing that he's not asleep, that he's stewing in his resentment. This is another form of punishment, I realize, the cold withdrawal, the silent treatment that lets Hannah know she's disappointed him, that she's failed in her wifely duties. Eventually, his breathing evens out, and he falls asleep. I lie awake for hours, replaying the evening in my mind, everything Tyler said and did, every manipulation, every subtle and not so subtle threat. This was a relatively mild night, according to Hannah. He didn't hit me. He didn't throw anything. He didn't explode into rage. But the experience was still profoundly disturbing. The constant vigilance required to avoid triggering him. The way he twisted everything to make it my fault. The casual cruelty wrapped in reasonable-sounding words. The physical intimidation disguised as affection. This is what Hannah lives with every single day, and this was Tyler on his best behavior. I finally fall asleep around 3 a.m, exhausted from the emotional strain of maintaining the pretense. When I wake up, Tyler's already gone. He leaves for the hospital early on Fridays, Hannah had told me. This gives me time to shower and regroup before he comes home in the evening. I check my phone. Multiple texts from Hannah, sent throughout the night, asking if I'm okay. I call her. "Madison, thank God. I barely slept. Are you all right?" "I'm fine. He didn't hurt me physically, but Hannah, the psychological stuff. It's worse than I imagined." "I know." Her voice is small. "That's what I've been trying to tell people when I've attempted to explain why I can't just leave. They don't understand. They think abuse is only physical violence. But the way he manipulates everything, the way he makes you doubt yourself, the constant fear, it's devastating." "I believe you. I completely believe you now." We talk for 30 minutes, going over every detail of last night. Hannah helps me understand some of Tyler's behaviors, explains patterns I didn't recognize. She's become an expert in Tyler's psychology out of necessity, learning to read his moods and anticipate his reactions as a survival skill. "What's the plan for today?" she asks. "I'm going to maintain the routine, do what you'd normally do, keep documenting everything. Then tonight, we move to phase 2. Phase 2. The part of the plan that makes me nervous, but also fills me with a sense of righteous purpose. Tonight, Tyler is going to learn what it feels like to be afraid in his own home." The day passes slowly. I clean the house, do laundry, go to the grocery store. Everything Hannah does on a normal Friday. I smile at neighbors who wave. I make small talk with the cashier at the store. I play the role of the happy suburban housewife, all while planning how to destroy the man who's been destroying my sister. At 6 o'clock, I start preparing dinner. Tyler comes home at his usual time, 7:30 on Fridays. He's showered at the gym, dressed in casual weekend clothes. He seems to be in a better mood than last night, greeting me with a kiss on the cheek and asking what's for dinner. Salmon with asparagus and wild rice. Sounds good, I'm starving. We have a pleasant meal. Tyler tells me about his day, about a successful surgery he performed, about hospital politics. I listen and respond appropriately, playing the attentive wife. To any observer, we'd look like a normal, happy couple. After dinner, Tyler suggests we watch a movie. We settle on the couch with glasses of wine. I make sure his is full, encouraging him to relax, to unwind from his stressful week. An hour into the movie, I notice his eyelids drooping. "Tired?" I ask. "Yeah, long week." "Why don't you go on up to bed? I'll finish the movie and be up soon." He agrees, too tired to question this. I wait until I hear the bedroom door close, then I wait another 30 minutes to be sure he's fallen asleep. "Tyler is a heavy sleeper," Hannah told me. "Once he's out, he rarely wakes up until his alarm goes off." I turn off the TV and all the lights downstairs. Then I go to the kitchen and retrieve the items Hannah helped me gather. A baseball bat from the garage. Tyler's own bat, ironically. I carry it upstairs, moving silently, and stand in the doorway of the bedroom. Tyler is sprawled on his back, snoring softly. In sleep, he looks peaceful, harmless. It's hard to reconcile this image with the man who terrorizes my sister, but that's part of his power. His ability to seem normal, even admirable, to everyone who doesn't see what happens behind closed doors. I turn on the bedroom light. Tyler wakes slowly, blinking against the sudden brightness. When his eyes focus on me standing in the doorway with the baseball bat, confusion crosses his face. "Hannah, what are you doing?" I don't respond immediately. I just stand there, letting him see me, really see me. I'm holding his bat, a weapon, in a way that makes my intent clear. I'm not here to hurt him, not physically, but he doesn't know that yet. What the hell is this? His confusion is giving way to anger now. He starts to get out of bed. "Stay there," I say firmly. My voice doesn't sound like Hannah's careful, placating tone. It sounds like me, strong, angry, unafraid. Tyler pauses, genuinely uncertain now. "What's going on? Are you drunk?" "I want you to understand something," I say, moving into the room but keeping distance between us. "For the past 2 days, you've been living with me, not your wife." His face goes blank with confusion. What are you talking about? I'm not Hannah. I'm Madison, her twin sister. The confusion transforms into disbelief, then slowly into something like fear as he processes what I'm saying. His eyes move over me, looking for differences, trying to confirm or deny what I've just told him. You're insane. You're having some kind of breakdown. Am I? Or have you been so busy controlling and manipulating your wife that you never actually looked at her closely enough to notice we switched places? Tyler's face darkens. This is ridiculous. You're Hannah, and you're having some kind of psychotic episode. Put down the bat and let's talk about this. I have recordings, I continue, from the past 2 days, every word you've said, every interaction, the way you criticized me over a hedge trimmer, the way you made me apologize for things I didn't do wrong, the way you used your size to intimidate me, all recorded and backed up to the cloud. His expression shifts as the implications sink in. You can't prove anything with recordings. A husband and wife having disagreements is normal. Is it normal to grab your wife's wrist hard enough to leave bruises? Is it normal to make her account for every minute of her day? Is it normal to criticize every single thing she does? Because that's what your normal looks like, Tyler. He stands up slowly, carefully. Where is Hannah? Somewhere you can't hurt her anymore. I would never hurt her. She's my wife. I love her. You've been beating her for months. She has bruises all over her body from you. She's terrified of you. That's a lie. His voice rises. Hannah is fine. We have disagreements like any couple, but I've never laid a hand on her in anger. Then explain the bruises on her ribs, the handprint on her thigh, the way she flinches every time you reach for something near her. Tyler's jaw clenches. Get out of my house. Your house? What about Hannah's house? Oh, wait. You've made it very clear that she owns nothing, that everything belongs to you, that she exists here at your pleasure. Get out. He takes a step toward me. I raise the bat slightly, not threatening him exactly, but reminding him it's there. How does it feel, Tyler? To be afraid in your own home? To not know what someone might do to you? To realize you're vulnerable? He stops advancing. For the first time, I see real fear in his eyes. Not fear that I'll actually hurt him. I don't think he believes I will, but fear of what this means for his carefully controlled life. This is insane, he says again, but with less conviction. You're committing a crime, impersonation, fraud, breaking, and entering. Actually, Hannah gave me permission to be here. As her twin sister and her designated representative, I have every legal right. But you've been committing assault and battery, domestic violence, criminal threatening, and now we have evidence. No court will believe you. I'm a respected physician. I save lives. Who do you think they'll believe? Me or some hysterical woman with an agenda? That's what you've been counting on, isn't it? Your reputation, your status, the fact that you seem so normal, so successful, so unlikely to be an abuser. But Hannah isn't hysterical. She's traumatized by you. Tyler's hands clench into fists. I can see him struggling with the urge to physically remove me, warring with the knowledge that doing so would only prove my point. I want to see Hannah right now. No, she's my wife. She's a person who deserves to be safe, and she's not safe with you. We stand there, facing off across the bedroom. The baseball bat feels heavy in my hands. I realize this moment is crucial. Tyler is being forced to confront what he's done, to see himself through someone else's eyes, to understand that his actions have consequences. What do you want? He asks finally, his voice tight. I want you to understand what you've put her through. The fear, the pain, the constant vigilance. I want you to feel what she feels. By threatening me with a bat? That's your solution? I'm not threatening you. I'm showing you what it's like to be powerless, to have someone bigger and stronger than you making you afraid in your own home. That's what you've done to Hannah every single day. Tyler's face hardens. Fine. You've made your point. Now leave. Not until you really understand. I pull out my phone with my free hand, keeping the bat raised. I'm going to play some of these recordings. I want you to hear yourself, to hear how you speak to the woman you claim to love. I don't need to hear anything. This is my house, and I'm calling the police. Go ahead. Call them. I'll show them the recordings. I'll show them Hannah's bruises. I'll show them the medical records from when she claimed to have the flu but was actually recovering from injuries you gave her. Please, call the police. He doesn't move toward his phone. He knows I'm right. Calling the police would open an investigation he can't afford. His reputation, his career, everything he's built would be at risk. What do you want from me? He asks again. And this time, there's something close to desperation in his voice. I want you to admit what you've done. I haven't done anything. You've been abusing your wife. Say it. No. I press play on one of the recordings. Tyler's voice fills the room, sharp and critical, berating Hannah over the hedge trimmer. Then the sound of him grabbing my wrist, my voice saying he's hurting me, his cold response dismissing my pain. Tyler's face pales as he listens. That's nothing. That's a normal marital disagreement. Is it? Let's listen to another one. I play a different clip, this one from later that same night. His voice telling me I'm pathetic, that he doesn't know why he married me, that I need to learn there are consequences. Stop. His voice is strained now. Why? This is your voice. These are your words. This is what Hannah hears every day. I said stop. He lunges at me, trying to grab the phone. I step back, swinging the bat in a warning arc that makes him stop short. We freeze like that, him reaching forward, me holding the bat between us. Don't, I say quietly. Don't make this worse than it already is. Tyler's breathing is ragged. You have no right to judge me. You don't know what our marriage is like. You don't know the stress I'm under, the pressure of my job. Hannah knows how to push my buttons, how to make me angry. So it's her fault you hit her? I never said that. You just did. You blamed her for making you angry. That's the abuser's playbook, Tyler. Nothing is ever your fault. The victim made you do it. He sinks down onto the edge of the bed, his head in his hands. For a moment, he looks smaller, defeated. What do you want me to say? That I'm sorry? Fine. I'm sorry. I never meant for things to get this bad. How bad did you mean for them to get? A little abuse was acceptable? Just enough to keep her in line? That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? He looks up at me, and I see something in his eyes that might be genuine emotion, shame perhaps, or fear, or maybe just self-pity at being caught. I love Hannah, he says. I know I've handled things badly. I know I need help, but I love her. Love doesn't look like this. Love doesn't leave bruises. Love doesn't make someone afraid to speak, to make decisions, to exist. What you've been doing isn't love. It's ownership. I can change. If she comes back, I swear I'll change. I'll go to therapy, anger management, whatever she wants. You've promised to change before. Every time you hurt her, you promise it won't happen again. And then it does. Why should anyone believe you now? Because I mean it this time. You meant it every other time too. That's what makes this so insidious. You genuinely believe you'll change in the moment. Then life goes on, stress builds up, and you fall back into the same patterns, because the pattern is who you are. Tyler shakes his head. You don't understand. The pressure I'm under every day, making life and death decisions, dealing with hospital administrators, managing difficult patients, it's overwhelming sometimes. I need Hannah to be my safe place, my refuge. When she's not, when she makes things harder instead of easier, I just snap. Do you hear yourself? You're still blaming her. She's supposed to be your refuge, which means what? That she's not allowed to have her own needs, her own problems, her own bad days? She exists solely to make your life easier? That's not what I meant. It's exactly what you meant. This is about control, Tyler. About you needing to feel powerful, because maybe deep down, You don't feel powerful at all. Maybe the pressure of your job, of maintaining your image, of being the perfect, successful doctor is too much, so you come home and take it out on the one person who can't fight back. She could fight back. She could leave. She tried. You know she tried. You beat her so badly she couldn't work for a week. You threatened to destroy her reputation, to make sure she couldn't get a job, to turn everyone against her. You trapped her, deliberately, systematically. Tyler is silent for a long moment. When he speaks again, his voice is barely above a whisper. What happens now? Now Hannah files for divorce. She gets a restraining order. She takes half of everything you own because that's what she's entitled to. And you leave her alone. Forever. Just like that, my marriage is over because you decided to play vigilante? Your marriage has been over for months, Tyler. You killed it every time you hit her. Every time you made her feel small. Every time you chose violence over love. This isn't me ending your marriage. This is me helping Hannah escape from the prison you created. He stands up slowly, and I tense, raising the bat slightly. But he doesn't move toward me. He walks to the window and stares out at the dark street. I'll fight the divorce, he says. I'll make it as difficult and expensive as possible. You could do that, and in the process, all of this becomes public. The recordings, the medical evidence, testimony from hospital staff who saw Hannah's bruises and were told to believe her lies about accidents. Is that really what you want? Your reputation destroyed? Your career potentially over? Prison time for domestic violence? You're bluffing. You don't have enough evidence for criminal charges. Don't I? Hannah has been documenting everything for months, even before I got involved. Photos of bruises with timestamps, text messages where you threatened her, emails where you controlled her every movement, medical records from the ER where she works, showing injuries she claimed were accidental, but that her colleagues suspected were abuse. We have more than enough. Tyler's shoulders slump. So that's it. I just lose everything. You lose the right to keep hurting my sister. As for everything else, that's up to the courts. But if you cooperate, if you agree to the divorce and the restraining order without a fight, we don't have to make this public. You can tell people it was a mutual decision, irreconcilable differences. Your reputation stays mostly intact. And if I don't cooperate, then we go to war. And I promise you, Tyler, you'll lose, because the evidence is overwhelming and because I will make it my personal mission to ensure everyone knows exactly who you are behind the professional facade. He turns to face me. You've thought this through. Hannah and I have thought this through. This isn't spontaneous. This is strategic. You manipulated and controlled her for months. Now you're experiencing what it's like to have someone else control the situation. How does it feel? It feels like my life is over. Your old life is over. The life where you had a woman you could abuse with impunity, good, that life deserved to end. We stand there in silence for a long moment. I can see Tyler processing everything, weighing his options, calculating his next move. He's a smart man, and he's realizing that he's lost this round, maybe permanently. I want to talk to Hannah, he says finally. No. She's my wife. I have a right. You have no rights here. You forfeited those rights when you started hitting her. Just let me explain. Let me apologize to her directly. So you can manipulate her again, convince her to come back, make promises you won't keep? Absolutely not. Tyler's face hardens. You can't keep her from me forever. I don't have to. The legal system will do that. The restraining order, the divorce proceedings, all of it creates barriers you can't cross. And if you violate those barriers, you'll face criminal consequences. I could make this very difficult for both of you. Is that a threat? It's a reality. I have resources, lawyers, connections. I can drag this out for years. You could, and in doing so, you'd spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees, destroy your own reputation, and still lose in the end. Or you can accept defeat now, agree to the terms, and move on with your life. Tyler walks past me toward the door. I tense, but he doesn't try anything. He just leaves the bedroom and goes downstairs. I follow, keeping the bat ready, unsure what he's planning. He goes to the living room and pours himself a scotch from the bar cart. He downs it in one gulp, then pours another. "My father used to hit my mother," he says suddenly, not looking at me. I swore I'd never be like him, and yet here I am. I don't respond. This feels like a manipulation, an attempt to garner sympathy. Poor Tyler, abused as a child, couldn't help becoming an abuser himself, except millions of people experience childhood trauma and don't grow up to hurt others. He made choices. Every single time he raised his hand to Hannah, he chose to do that. "I'm not making excuses," he continues, as if reading my thoughts. "I'm just saying I understand how I got here. The patterns we learn as children, they're hard to break. You're a doctor. You understand neurology, psychology, human behavior. You had every tool available to recognize and address your own issues. Instead, you chose to repeat the cycle." "I know." He takes another drink. "I know. So what now? Are you going to cooperate with the divorce or make this ugly?" Tyler is silent for so long I think he's not going to answer. Then he sets down his glass and looks at me directly. "If I agree to everything, the divorce, the restraining order, a fair division of assets, will you keep the recordings private?" "Yes." "And Hannah won't press criminal charges?" "Not unless you violate the restraining order or try to contact her." He nods slowly. "Fine. Tell her she can have her divorce. Tell her lawyer to draw up the papers, and I'll sign them." "Just like that?" "Just like that." He laughs bitterly. "What choice do I have? You've backed me into a corner. Either I cooperate and maybe salvage something of my reputation, or I fight and lose everything. That's not really a choice." "Good. I'm glad you can see reason. But I want you to know something." His voice hardens. "What you did, impersonating Hannah, recording me without consent, threatening me in my own home, none of that was legal. You committed crimes too." "Maybe, but my crimes were in service of protecting someone from violence. Yours were the violence itself. I'm willing to take my chances with the legal system." Tyler walks toward the front door. "I'm leaving. I'll get a hotel room for tonight. I assume Hannah will want to come get her things?" "Eventually, when she's ready." "Fine. Tell her I'll be out of the house by the end of the week. She can have it. She can have everything. I don't care anymore." He grabs his keys from the bowl by the door and walks out without another word. I watch through the window as he gets in his car and drives away. Only then do I let out the breath I've been holding. I call Hannah immediately. "It's done?" I tell her when she answers. "He's gone. He's agreed to the divorce." I hear her sobbing on the other end of the line. Not sad crying, but relief. Pure, overwhelming relief. "Are you okay?" she asks through tears. "Did he hurt you?" "I'm fine. He never touched me. We talked. He realized he'd lost and he left." "What did you do? What happened?" I told him the truth, that I wasn't you, that we had recordings, that we had evidence, that he could cooperate or face the consequences. And he just agreed? He didn't have much choice. The evidence is overwhelming. Fighting would only destroy him. Hannah is quiet for a moment. "I can't believe it's really over." "It's really over. You're free." More crying, this time mixed with laughter. "Thank you. Thank you for doing this. I could never have confronted him like that. I was too afraid, too conditioned to please him. That's why I did it. You needed someone who wasn't afraid, who wasn't trapped in the pattern, someone who could see the situation clearly and act. What happens now? Now you come home, your real home, and you start rebuilding your life without fear." 3 hours later, Hannah walks into her house for the first time in 3 days. She moves through the rooms slowly, touching furniture, looking at photos, reclaiming her space. I watch her, seeing the tension slowly drain from her shoulders. "It feels different already," she says, "lighter somehow." "That's because he's not here. His presence was poison." She turns to look at me, and I see my own face looking back, my twin, my mirror image, but also someone different now, someone who's been through hell and is beginning to emerge on the other side. I'm going to need therapy, she says, a lot of therapy. Probably, but you're strong enough to do it. I don't feel strong. You are, though. You survived months of abuse. You found the courage to ask for help. You trusted me with the truth, even though you were ashamed and afraid. That's strength. Hannah sits on the couch, and I sit beside her. We stay like that for a long time, not talking, just being present. Two women who share DNA and, now a secret, a plan we executed together to free her from a nightmare. Do you think he'll actually follow through? Hannah asks eventually. The divorce, the restraining order, all of it? I think so. He knows the alternative is worse. His entire life would be destroyed if this went public. Part of me feels guilty, she admits, like I'm ruining his life. Hannah, he ruined his own life by choosing to hurt you. This isn't your fault. None of it is your fault. I know. Intellectually, I know that. But there's still this voice in my head telling me I should have tried harder, been better, given him more chances. That's the voice he put there. His voice, not yours. And over time, with therapy, that voice will get quieter. You'll remember who you were before him, strong, confident, unafraid. She nods, wiping tears from her eyes. Thank you. I don't know how I'll ever repay you for what you did. You don't need to repay me. You're my sister. I love you. Protecting you isn't something that requires repayment. We sit in silence again, and I think about the past few days. The fear, the careful performance, the confrontation with Tyler. It was terrifying and exhausting, but also strangely empowering. I saw clearly what Hannah had been living with, and I helped her escape it. Sometimes, the best thing you can do for someone you love is to fight the battles they can't fight themselves. The divorce takes 6 months to finalize. Tyler keeps his word and cooperates fully. He agrees to a settlement that gives Hannah half of their assets, including the house. He signs the restraining order without contest. He doesn't try to contact her or fight any of the terms. Hannah spends those months in intensive therapy, working through the trauma of what she experienced. Some days are harder than others. She has nightmares. She struggles with anxiety. She second-guesses herself constantly, the legacy of months of being told she was incompetent and difficult. But slowly, gradually, she begins to heal. She starts spending time with friends again, rebuilding the connections Tyler had forced her to sever. She goes back to working full-time at the hospital, rediscovering her passion for nursing. She takes up painting, a hobby she'd abandoned years ago because Tyler thought it was a waste of time. I watch my sister come back to life, and it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. 1 year after the night, I confronted Tyler in his bedroom with a baseball bat. Hannah and I are sitting on her back porch, drinking wine and watching the sunset. She's different now. There's a lightness to her that wasn't there before. She laughs more easily. She doesn't flinch when someone moves too quickly near her. I saw Tyler last week, she says suddenly. My head snaps toward her. What? Did he approach you? Violate the restraining order? No, nothing like that. I saw him from a distance at the hospital. He was visiting a patient, I think. He didn't see me. How did that feel? She considers this. Strange. He looked smaller somehow, less intimidating. I realized he has no power over me anymore. Seeing him didn't trigger panic or fear. He was just a man I used to know. That's huge, Hannah. I know. A year ago, I thought I'd never escape him. I thought this was just my life now. Being afraid, being controlled, being hurt. But you showed me there was another way. You showed me I was worth fighting for. You always were worth fighting for. You just couldn't see it yourself. She raises her wine glass. To twin sisters who have each other's backs. I clink my glass against hers, always. We sit in comfortable silence, watching the sky turn brilliant shades of orange and pink. I think about how close we came to a different outcome. What if Hannah had never told me? What if she'd stayed trapped in that marriage until Tyler's violence escalated to the point of no return? What if she'd been one of the statistics we hear about on the news, another woman killed by her partner? But that's not what happened. She found the courage to ask for help. I found the courage to give it in an unconventional way. And together, we taught Tyler a lesson he'll carry for the rest of his life. That sometimes the people you think you can control surprise you. That actions have consequences. That abuse doesn't happen in a vacuum. That there are people who will fight back, who will protect those who can't protect themselves. I don't know if Tyler learned anything from what happened. Maybe he just sees himself as a victim of a vindictive ex-wife and her interfering sister. Maybe he's already in another relationship, already establishing new patterns of control. Some people never change. But Hannah changed. She got out. She survived. She's building a life on her own terms, free from fear. And in the end, that's what matters. Not punishing the abuser, though that had its place, but freeing the victim, giving her back her power, her voice, her life. That night, when I confronted Tyler with a baseball bat in his own bedroom, I wasn't trying to be a hero. I wasn't trying to be an avenging angel. I was just trying to protect my sister, the only way I knew how. By showing her that she wasn't alone, that she didn't have to accept the unacceptable, that there were people who would stand with her, fight for her, help her escape. Sometimes love means doing scary things. Sometimes it means stepping into someone else's nightmare to help them find their way out. Sometimes it means being brave when the person you love can't be brave themselves. Hannah is my twin, my mirror image, my other half. When she was trapped, I felt trapped too. When she was in pain, I felt it too. So when she finally asked for help, there was no question. I would do whatever it took to free her, even if it meant pretending to be her, even if it meant facing down a violent man, even if it meant crossing lines I never thought I'd cross, because that's what family does. We protect each other. We fight for each other. We teach lessons to those who need to learn them. And Tyler needed to learn that he couldn't hurt my sister without consequences, that his violence wouldn't be tolerated or ignored, that the woman he thought he controlled actually had people who loved her enough to risk everything for her safety. That was the real lesson. Not that violence begets violence, not that revenge is sweet, but that love is stronger than control, that connection is more powerful than manipulation. That no abuser, no matter how smart or successful or seemingly untouchable, can stand against people who refuse to let someone they love be destroyed. Hannah is free now. That's all that matters. And if Tyler ever tries to hurt another woman, well, I hope she has a sister like me. Someone willing to switch places, wear her clothes, become her for a few days to document the truth and confront the monster. Because monsters thrive in darkness, in silence, in the privacy of homes where no one can see what really happens. But when you shine a light on them, when you expose their behavior, when you refuse to let them hide behind respectability and status, they lose their power. That's what we did, Hannah and I together. We shined a light on Tyler's darkness. We exposed what he really was. We took away his power, and we gave Hannah back hers. That's a lesson worth teaching. That's a plan worth executing. That's a risk worth taking. For family, for love, for the freedom to live without fear. The sun has fully set now, and the sky is dark. Hannah stands up, stretching. I should probably head in. Early shift tomorrow. You love your job again, I observe. She smiles. I do. It feels different now. Before, work was just an escape from home. Now it's actually fulfilling, I remember why I became a nurse in the first place. To help people. To help people, she confirms, kind of like what you did for me. That's what we do for each other. That's what it means to be sisters. She hugs me tightly. I'm glad I told you. I'm glad you helped me. I'm glad I'm free. Me too. I watch her go inside, then sit for a few more minutes in the darkness. I think about the woman who opened the door to my apartment 3 days before I confronted Tyler. That woman was broken, defeated, barely recognizable as my confident twin sister. The woman who just hugged me is healing, growing stronger every day, becoming herself again. That transformation is why I did what I did, why I would do it again if I had to, why I'll never regret those terrifying days when I pretended to be Hannah and faced down the man who hurt her. Because in the end, all that matters is that she's safe, she's free, she's alive, and Tyler learned a lesson he'll never forget, that appearances can be deceiving, that the woman he thought he controlled actually had resources he never anticipated, that abuse doesn't happen without consequences, even if those consequences are delayed. I finish my wine and stand up to leave. As I walk to my car, I glance back at Hannah's house. The lights are on inside, warm and welcoming. It's her space now, her sanctuary, a place where she can be herself without fear. That's worth everything, every risk I took, every moment of fear, every second of that confrontation with Tyler. My sister is free, and that's the only ending that matters.